Welcome to the Abingdon Co channel. My name is Abingdon and I run a watch company in Las Vegas, Nevada called the Abingdon Company. And I am also a pilot. And I've been a pilot probably longer than I have been making watches, about a year. And I want to address a sticking point that I have, if you will. So if you like this, go ahead, subscribe. If you don't, fine. If you have comments about this, please put them in the comments below, put them in the chat. I want to talk about this because I am continually just kind of surprised that the watch industry has really dismissed talking to, it's not a dismiss, I shouldn't say that, but they forget to address the things that pilots want for the aviation watches, the divers want dive watches, so on and so forth, and everything else. So if you do have any comments, then MK, can you please make sure that doesn't go silent? Because I want to make sure that I've got comments coming up because I know this is a touchy issue for a lot of people. So MK's my producer, manager here at the Abingdon Co channel, and she's always in the background doing something awesome. But yeah, let's get started here. When I started the Abingdon Company, I was learning how to fly. This was back in 2006. And I was looking for a pilot's watch after I got my private. I didn't find anything. Most everything that I did find as a Gringa watch. She's another YouTuber that I enjoy her channel. She said it's so hard to find smaller pilot watches, and that was my issue back in 2006. It was so hard to find something small, so I ended up just starting to create my own. Now, as a pilot, I'll kind of give you a little bit of background of what I do when I fly. So this is not a costume, not a Halloween costume. This is my uniform that I fly in. I am ATP rated. What that means is airline transport pilot rating. It's the airline level of flying. I have flown for some major airlines in my past. And I ferry airplanes. So I have flown probably over 80 different airplanes, over 4,000 hours of flight time in everything from the tiny little Cessna to a 747. If you've seen that video on the YouTube channel, then that was an amazing flight. Took it to Germany, stopped in India, and dropped off a whole bunch of medical supplies for them. So there's been a lot of different kinds of flying. I love tailwheel. I love aerobatic. I love corporate. I love delivering airplanes. All that type of stuff is really where my passion lies. Why did I start making watches? Because I couldn't find anything for a woman who flies airplanes. So that was one of the reasons. And MK, I'm going to have you move this a little bit closer, or else I'm going to just end up kind of looking way far away. So just kind of bring it in just a little bit. You can make sure it's out of the frame. So that's my flying background. Now, with my flying background, I have, over the course of the decade plus, almost two, that I have been selling pilot watches for women, I've met a lot of pilots. And also because I fly so much, I've met a lot of pilots. So we discuss watches, because this is my business, all the time. And at all levels of flying, from a general aviation to a professional, everybody is wearing a watch in the flight deck. And what type of watch are they wearing? So when the watch industry starts talking about aviation watches, and they mention some of the major brands that make aviation watches, I can tell you that most of the people that are in the flight deck that are operating aircraft are only concerned with one thing. That's it. And that one thing is accuracy of time. So when you talk about aviation watches, one of my biggest sticking points is, why are you referencing an automatic or a mechanical watch? They are fantastic timepieces. I'm not going to deny any of the brands out there that make an automatic aviation. I put that in quotes because I do not consider a mechanical or an automatic watch an aviation watch. Fight me if you want. I don't care because this is how I've flown. It's my opinion only. And I have had over 15 years of conversations with pilots in the flight deck about this particular topic. Now, if you do have an automatic aviation watch, it is for the sole purpose of wearing it on a nice night out, wearing it to a job interview, but it is never wearing it in the flight deck. And that's it. It's never about wearing it in the flight deck. So if we want to talk about what is important to a pilot and why a pilot's watch needs to have a certain, um, well, there's just a few things that we need to have. Now, some of the watches that were mentioned in Gringa's video are absolutely stunning timepieces. I only saw a couple GMT watches. If you are a pilot, no matter where you are in the world, no matter which airline you fly for, or if it's just for recreational purposes, any airline company that operates aircraft around the world, you always have to reference GMT. So Greenwich Mean Time, Universal Time Code, Zulu Time, whatever you want to call it, it's okay, let me back up. If you look around the world, there's 24 hours, 24 time zones, and along the Greenwich Mean Line, Greenwich Mean, did I just say that right? You know what I mean. The Greenwich Mean Line. Can you tell I'm passionate about this? The Greenwich Mean Line is Zulu. So all of those 24 hours around the world are designated by a letter. And GMT is at the Z. That's why they call it Zulu. So if you are a pilot, you reference your weather, you reference your takeoff time, estimated time of arrival, estimated time of departure, all of these things, even what you put in your logbook, usually is written in Zulu. So having GMT on your watch is super handy. I would say that's probably the number 2 feature that all pilots want to see on their watch. First, precision of time. You're not going to get that with an automatic or a mechanical. You're going to get that with a quartz. Second is GMT. GMT is always, always being referenced. So if you have and MK, can I make sure that everybody on social knows that we had tech difficulties? And can you just check on like the Insta and everything? Because we had a lot of people waiting for this video. So I want to make sure that those people are tuning in for this because there is a lot of information I'm going to go over here in a very, very short amount of time. So yeah, feel free to take it. So GMT, accuracy of time. Those are the number 1 and number 2. The third is having some type of timer. So there's 2 types of flying primarily. One is visual flight rules and the other is instrument flight rules. In visual flight rules, it's a sunny, beautiful day. You can go, you can look outside and you can reference everything by mountains or roads or lakes or whatever. But if you're an instrument, it means it's a cloudy day. You don't have spatial orientation when you're looking outside. Everything just looks like a white void. So you have to focus on your instruments. So instrument flight rules or IFR and visual flight rules. When you are in IFR, which is how every airline is flown in instrument flight rules, any flight above 18,000, or as they say in the aviation space, flight level 180, is all done in instrument. And when you fly instrument, you need a good timer. In fact, for the United States, one of the FAA rules says you need to have a stopwatch or a countdown device installed working on the flight deck, in the flight deck. So it has to be on your panel and that has to have a second timer. So what a lot of pilots will do is they will wear something that has a second hand on their watch and either as a stopwatch or as a second hand. You need to have this when you are flying instrument. So automatic, not necessarily a feature that any working pilots, most of the airline pilots, honestly, that I know, a lot of them are wearing digital Timexes, something that is just super quick and easy to look at. They need precision of time. That's number 1. Number 2, GMT. they want to have Greenwich Mean Time because it just makes things easier. When we have a time change fall back in the fall, spring forward, and we change that 1 hour forward or 1 hour backward, then it's so confusing sometimes here in Las Vegas. It's either minus or +8, +7 from GMT or from Greenwich Mean Line. So having that super important. And the third thing is having a timer. Outside of that, all the other stuff is just bells and whistles. If you have a flight computer like what I wear on the Jackie that I've been wearing since day one, that's great. But there's not a lot of pilots that even remember how to use a flight computer. And besides, your avionics are really telling the whole story anyway. So, and your avionics these days with the glass cockpits and all of those types of things, they're so redundant. They have multiple batteries, multiple alternators, sometimes 2 or 3 installed as a backup to a backup to a backup. Because in aviation, when you're operating an airplane in the flight levels above 180, you really need to abide by the rule that 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And that's how they build aircraft nowadays. When you're flying some of the older vintage airplanes, well, those airplanes may only have one battery or may only have one alternator. And if you do have an avionics failure where your flight instruments are going to go out, then yes, having a flight computer on your watch, a whiz wheel, an E6B, whatever you want to call it, is great. But you do have to remember how to use it. So that flight computer, time, speed, and distance, fuel consumption, all of those types of calculations. Now, what I primarily use it for when I travel internationally, when I'm ferrying an airplane, is I will currency convert. I will convert currency with my flight computer any day of the week before I start doing time, speed, and distance calculations or anything else. There are videos on the YouTube channel that do go over how to use your flight computer on your watch. We have those all over the place in here. They've been up for over a decade, and they are super, super helpful. But if you're not up to speed on the whiz wheel, then there's really no point. It's just kind of a gimmick to show, yes, I'm a pilot because I have a flight computer on my watch. So when you're talking about some of the aviation watches out there that have that really complicated looking, all those numbers that go around and you've got the rotating inner bezel, or maybe it's an outer bezel like some aviation watches have, that's great, but try and find a pilot that knows reliably how to use it. And I'm not just talking an examiner, because an examiner has to quiz somebody all the time on how to use that watch or how to use that whiz wheel. Or even a flight instructor. A flight instructor should know as well how to use the whiz wheel. Outside of those two professions, you're not going to be finding a lot of pilots that know how to use flight computers. I'm just calling it like it is. If you're a pilot, you probably would agree with me on that one. So the whiz wheel is okay. The E6B is okay. I think it's great to have. I like to use it because I use it for currency conversion because I travel internationally a lot. Military time. If you are a pilot, you probably know military time pretty easily. It's probably a second language to you. So that is not, it's nice on your watch as a design feature, but really if you are flying all the time, you know your military hours, having a 24-hour clock is just a show-off piece similar to the whiz wheel. The only things, I'm going to bring this back, the only things that a true pilot, whether you're a recreational pilot or whether you're a professional pilot, all you care about on your watch, fight me if you want, is accuracy of time. That's it. You are not going to get that with an automatic, with a mechanical, with anything other than a quartz battery operated watch. The watch industry is enamored with the idea of the Maverick, the Top Gun, the pilots, we're like demigods that are flying in the air. We're not, by the way. We're totally human beings, just like you. And it is, I find that there's a lot more cool, not cool, but just amazing, interesting people outside of the aviation industry. And a lot of them are in the watch industry, So flying an airplane is not difficult. And those that have accomplished their pilot certificate up to the ATP level where I'm at, I give them a lot of credit. They worked very hard for it. It's not anything you can't do either. And if you ever want any assistance or advice on how to do your flight training, I am an active pilot, I am a flight instructor, and I do fly for airlines and corporate and ferry companies. So if you ever have a question, put it in the comments, send me a message on Instagram. I will point you in the right direction of the closest flight school to you. I will help you out in whatever way I can, because once you have flown an airplane on your own, it is incredible. It's an incredible feeling. It's an incredible sense of accomplishment. But please do not believe all of the marketing that watch companies promote with hiring, models and put a bomber jacket on them and have these incredible $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 watches that are mechanical, because you're not going to fly with that. There is not one Thunderbird or Blue Angel out there that flies with an automatic aviation watch. They may have an automatic aviation watch, but it is not for the cockpit. And we're here in Vegas, spoken with a lot of the Thunderbirds. In fact, last week there was a big event with all the air shows that happens every year here in Vegas, and I was talking with them just about this same subject. And when they fly, they're using the timer that's either on their panel or they're using something that is battery operated because it is more accurate. So for those that are making videos on pilot watches, please do your audience a favor and talk to a pilot. Talk to several pilots. Find out what they're actually wearing. They may own an aviation watch that is mechanical, but I can tell you that they probably don't fly with that one. What is it that a pilot flies with? They fly with something that is battery operated because it's going to be the most accurate on time. There are some approach plates when you fly IFR that from A to B, because there's all these roads up in the air, that it takes 93 seconds to go from point A to point B. And if you are in the soup, as they call it, when you're instrument flying, you are counting down as accurately as possible those 93 seconds to make sure that you cross that point B at the right time. There are other airplanes up in that soup, and you do not want to hit them. So having accuracy of time, which you can only get with a quartz watch, is all you need to do, all you need to have. So this is totally my rant on this, but I do think it's important because I don't think that the watch industry is talking to the active people that are using specific watches. And I love flying and I love watches. And I love my aviation community and I love my watch community. And sometimes I want to get everybody in the same room and just have them talk it out because I think they'll learn a lot from each other. And one of the things that I really want the watch industry to do is to dismiss the notion that just because a watch is marketed as an aviation watch means it is an aviation watch. So if you don't have accuracy of time, and I would say GMT and a timer, those are my three top in the 15 plus years that I've been flying, almost 2 decades, then you're probably not going to fly with it in the flight deck. So what we've done at the Abingdon company is I've been making pilot watches since day one. That's how it started. And I'm talking to active pilots that are in the military, that are in the airlines, that are flying recreationally, just for fun, corporate, mostly in the United States. A lot of them are international. And when we go to conferences and events like air shows, Women in Aviation Conference, and all of those types of different events where the primary audience are pilots, we ask, what do you want to see on a watch? What do you not see on watches today? What is the problem with the watch that you're currently wearing in the flight deck? So when I'm talking to you about this, yes, you can feel my passion about this because I am very, very passionate about this. But I think you can also recognize that these folks are telling you and I that they want precision of time. That's always been the number one thing. Precision. I just need accurate time. And having GMT and having a stopwatch are great, but there's also a couple other features that a few specific pilots may want, the whiz wheel, military time, those types of things. That's fine. And a lot of times you're going to not use them. It doesn't mean that you don't need them, you might, but if you're not using that type of stuff on a regular basis, it's just taking up space on your watch. So that is what I wanted to cover today. I hope this has been informative. I really do wish that you've gone away with something today, other than just hearing about my passionate rant. But if you do have any questions about flying, about watches, or about aviation watches, I am more than happy to go over them with you. I'm available in the comments, in private messages, on social media, or heck, you can just give us a call at 702-530-9438. This is an incredibly accessible company. We're a small business. We're in Las Vegas. So if you are ever in Las Vegas, come by and have a chat. We'll have a cup of coffee and we'll talk about it. So if you did like this, click that subscribe button. If you think it was valuable, then definitely hit the notification bell, because there's probably going to be more valuable content for you in the future. You'll get notified when we do go over these things. I don't always get this intense on a live, but I do think that um, you know what? I was feeling spicy this morning, so we'll just go with it. There is a question, Paul. So if you fly with the quartz, how often should you be changing the battery? So great question, Paul. It depends on the movement, so the engine inside of the watch, and what battery that takes. Most battery operated watches, 2 to 3 years. The good thing about a battery operated watch is it's either working or it's not. It's an electrical pulse, right? So your battery is either going to have juice or it's not going to have juice. So that's a good thing about a battery operated, is you do want to have it every 2 to 3 years. Now, what we say for our crew members here is, and people understand this because of the fact that they are pilots, when you own an airplane, or when you are renting an airplane or using an airplane for your job or whatever, airplanes go through what's called an annual inspection. Every year, an airplane has to go into maintenance and it gets an annual done. When that annual is done, it is considered an airworthy airplane. If the airplane does not get an annual done every year, it is not airworthy and you cannot fly. It is illegal to fly that aircraft if you don't have an annual done. So what we advise with our crew members is do the same thing with your watch. Just send it in, change it in for a battery. So on your anniversary date of when you bought your watch every year, just change the battery. That way you know that you will always have a fresh battery. Now, getting a battery change, super easy. If you have, I don't recommend going to like Sears or Walmart. I would stay away from those places. But if you go to a watch repair store at a local mall or a jewelry store that has a watch repair on staff, very different than just a regular jewelry store, because a lot of jewelry stores will ship out watches to a watch repairer to change out batteries and things. You want somebody who's on staff who can do it right there. It should only take 10 minutes, and they should give you the dead battery afterwards. So if you just do that once a year, you're never going to have a problem. You can't always send them to us. We do free battery changes with any of our watches. So if you just fill out a repair form, and we have a lot of people that do that, they'll just send them to us and then we'll change it and send it back to them. That's perfectly fine as well. So however you want to do it, but I always think of airplanes in terms of annuals and airworthiness, and that's how I think about my watches. I think of them in terms of I got to change the battery every year, and even though I know that it'll take 2 to 3 years for it to die, it just keeps it fresh. It keeps it working. I don't have to think about it. It's done. So I hopefully that answered. So should I sell my Breitling automatic? Absolutely not. No. But the Breitling automatic, a Navitimer, is one of my favorite designs. Definitely no, keep it. But if you are in a flight deck, Paul, and you want something that's accurate, an automatic is not going to be as accurate as a quartz. End of story. That's all it is. And I'm not ripping on any automatics out there. There are some stunning, beautifully designed aviation watches. But please just recognize that pilots are not flying with those in order to keep accurate time. They need something in the flight deck for accurate time, and it's going to be a quartz watch. So that's all I got. That's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I have a lot of fun with this topic, and I think it's because I really do stride the fence of aviation and watches. So it's a very passionate topic for me. So anyway, that is it. Any more questions or comments, throw them in the comments below. I'll answer them after the video. And if you enjoyed this, definitely go ahead and subscribe. My name is Abingdon. You have checked out the Abingdon Code channel. I appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you on the next video.